going after your B&E investigation? Back to your place for a sleep, or
Oh
bearing
yeah,
in
if
mind
everyone
that you're
goes napping, she would go back to the Hammersmith for a nap as well. And
bearing in mind that you're Pink's ride?
yeah, well, Pink can crash over at her place.
So wait, Whiskey's inviting Pink to the Hammersmith?
Yeah, sure.
That is a question that begs an answer from Andre, because I don't know how comfortable Pink would be doing that. So ambiguity abound. Pink either goes to the Hammersmith or asks Whiskey to drive her back to the place where you did the drug bust. If it's the case of asking Whiskey to go there, would Whiskey agree, or would Whiskey say, "Fuck that, I'm not going to Lambeth"?
I think she would not go to Lambeth. She would drop her at the gates of Lambeth, but yeah, she is not in the mood to go into Lambeth.
Okay, so we'll confirm with Andre when Andre gets here and just sort of leave that ambiguous for now. How about the rest of you folkers?
Well, that's definitely civil.
Honestly, it's based on Mike right now because he's the one driving.
Mike, where are you taking everybody?
Where do they ask to go to?
Mike the chauffeur. Orchid wants to follow Okami.
What? It's still like 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Getting closer to 3 a.m., but yeah.
It'd be completely pointless to go try to sleep at this point.
You can get like a 3-hour nap.
Yeah, that's probably what Athena's going to do.
Yeah, that's generally what I do after these sessions and before work.
Bear in mind that the interview doesn't take place until, I believe I said, 1 p.m.
So we have
You have
8
just
hours?
closer to 10.
But we can't do anything preemptively until people start to wake up. And we'd like to talk to some people before the interview.
So I guess it's a matter of how early we want to start getting in contact with these people.
8 a.m. sounds good to me, but
So most of you want to have a minimum of at least 3-hour nap. Does anyone not want to get their nap in? I will take that silence to mean everyone wants a nap.
I mean, yeah, that's what the person said.
I'll take the nap and then I'll treat Orchid to some breakfast.
Nap.
Okay, so we'll just kind of fast forward through that. We don't have to role play napping.
Okay, so you guys all in 3 hours, this we all role play sleeping.
I do want just to have a few composure rolls, though, just to see if anyone is able, like if anyone glitches or critical glitches, then they were too stressed out to get any sleep. Critical glitch means you also end up fatigued.
So what are we rolling?
Composure.
Ah,
I think all of us have really good composure dice across the board. Hopefully no one gets unlucky.
17 for Orchid.
That's on my token.
Am I assuming your lack of roll here, Twister, means Athena isn't napping?
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. It's just, I was looking at the sheet. And I was on the wrong page. That's why.
Because composure isn't on any particular
Correct.
page.
Well, it's on
Wow.
the right side of the page.
Everyone got at least 3 hits. That is very good for all of you. So you'll get
And
sufficient rest that you won't be completely wasted the next day.
Whiskey has more composure than I thought she did,
She's got a buttload of charisma.
but very low willpower, I'm guessing.
Decently
No,
low.
willpower is decent.
And Twister, you are broadcasting the clickety-clack of your keyboard.
Sorry.
All right, so the next day comes around, probably around 8 a.m. is when most of you said you wanted to wake up, I assume?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is anybody going to argue?
Is anyone going to take some initiative and tell me what the fuck they're doing?
Whiskey is probably, as soon as she wakes up and kind of freshen up, is going to call Pulford.
All right, what's the loyalty
And
versus
or
connection
Beckett.
on him?
Connection 5, loyalty 3.
And then your etiquette rating, because that's also a thing now.
And is it Pulford and Beckett are separate, or they're together as a group contact?
No, they're together as a group contact.
Okay, and whose name is on the page? Like, is Beckett your direct contact, or is Pulford your direct contact?
Basically, the contact says Harold Pulford and Beckett.
Oh, right. So they're listed as a pair. Okay. That basically means that they share contact information and Beckett will answer the phone more often than Pulford.
I assume so, yes.
So yeah, as Twister said, loyalty plus the
Etiquette rating.
etiquette rating.
Right, an etiquette rating is a bugged up hellhole on my thing, so
No,
I just...
the rating. The rating is specifically how many points you put into the skill.
Ah, okay, well that's easy then, 3.
Well, aren't you just a lucky fucking devil? How the fuck did you pull that shit off? Well, for once, Whiskey, you're not even going to have to call Pulford, because basically, you said you got out of the shower and you freshened up and such before you made the call, right?
Yes,
So,
probably had a little
basi-
drinky.
Drinky in your room or drinky down in the bar?
Drinky in her room.
Okay,
Basically, she
then-
probably has a bottle on the nightstand next to her.
Yeah. So she's going to get a knock on the door, and it's going to be Beckett saying that he is just telling you that Pulford wants to see her in his office.
Well, just the two big packing man beasts I wanted, the sexy man beasts I wanted to see this morning.
He's going to give you the queerest look, like, the fuck is up with you, girl? But he doesn't say anything. He'll just say he's in his office and mosey on his own way.
Right, coming right there. And yeah, she would pretty much head to the office as soon as she's well dressed and everything.
Okay. So basically, the short of what Pulford wanted to speak to Whiskey about is this agreement she's basically made with one of the patrons to basically give him all the beverages he wants. You remember that deal, right, Whiskey?
Aye, sadly I do.
Right. Well, that guy's now hospitalized. He's done fucked himself up by drinking too much booze.
Wow, and I was just about to suggest I break his knees to make him feel unwelcome here. Huh, what an idiot.
Yeah, well, the problem is that he might try taking this up, legally speaking, against us. Because what you got and done is something that the Liquor Control Board ain't too happy with.
Over-serving a customer, they're never happy about that.
So you want me to maybe have a talk with him and talk him out of that legal business?
No, Beckett's already on his way to go do that. I just wanted you to know I'm really disappointed in you.
Yeah, well, teachers me not to mess with that deep weed stuff that we got. Did you return did that get all properly returned to what's the fellow's name?
You don't need to worry your pretty head about it, girl. You got paid. That's the end of your involvement in this.
Fair enough. So, actually, now that I'm here, I actually had another kind of businessy thing I want to bring up with you.
He'll just sort of lean back in his chair and kind of cross his arms and give you the nod, go ahead.
So, you're familiar with Lock, Cock, and Shock, the good studio, right? It's one of the ones you own, I think.
So at first his face is kind of confused, but then when you say it's one of the ones you own, his face will kind of light up. It's like, okay, yeah, that's that tranny porn one.
Yeah, that one. Well, there's a girl that I know, kind of a young girl, kind of confused. She is going in for an interview, and I think it will be a bad experience to put her into this thing. Could cause trouble. So I figure maybe it's a good idea if I handle that interview and kind of talk her out of it, so she doesn't later go and causes trouble for us with that thing.
Oh, wait a minute here, Whiskey. When did you start getting involved in that part of my business? You're just here to sling drinks and break a few kneecaps when the need arises. Well, what are you doing getting involved with that half of the business?
Well, normally I don't, but I know this girl. She's kind of... I've been chatting a bit with her online, and, well, as I said, she's confused a bit, and, well, if you figure she might have daddy issues which could cause trouble for us later on if she gets too deep into the mess, if you know. Kind of the same thing with the too much drinking fella.
Go ahead and roll a con there, Whiskey.
Something I'm not good at yet. I'm hoping to put points in that in the future. I really need to.
If you need to pre-edge this to make sure that it's... Because if this is a really important part of the aspect...
Problem is, even pre-edging won't help that much, but I'll give it a try.
Good luck.
So yeah, pre-edge with my last edge point.
Wait, last?
They have not refreshed since last session.
Well, that
We're using
might have
last
been
session.
worthwhile.
That doesn't seem right.
What up?
What's your charisma and what's your con?
My con is 4, because I'm basically defaulting on it.
Okay, sorry. I meant your rating, so it's rating 0. Okay.
Yep.
And how many? So you only have 2 edge?
Yes, because I had to burn. I start with 4 edge, and I had to burn once. I had to burn 2 of them in the Parsons protection job. The first to not get killed and raped by the thugs, and the second one to not get chopped in half with the chainsaw of the Remora sisters.
Okay. So 4 hits on 6 die is pretty fantastic. So why don't you also go ahead and roll a judge intention for me? You're not 100% sure, but Pulford doesn't raise any objections to the story you're giving here, but he does say, now, I've been doing this a lot longer than you have, Whiskey, but daddy issues is good for business, not bad for business. We get those girls with the daddy issues all the time, and they're generally our biggest earners. So I trust the man that I've got conducting that interview. And he leans forward and kind of puts his elbows up on his desk and crosses his fingers. He's like, now, I'm willing to maybe see about giving you the chance to watch the interview or something, just to keep an eye on this friend of yours. But Powell's got the job he's got because he knows how to pick and choose which of those trannies are the ones who are going to be the big earners for us.
All right, fair enough. I do give you that you know more about that side of the business than I do, though. Honestly, I honestly wish you had a more proper, like, troll-focus side of that type of thing. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
I would
we
do
do.
good, I think. She kind
We
of
got Big and Horny. You know about Big and Horny, don't you?
big and I did not know about that.
The fuck? Big and Horny. All right. So he goes into AR and he pulls up the files and he gives you contact information for a troll talent agent. And he's like, if you want to get in on these videos, you got a very pretty face, Whiskey. So
Damn right I do.
yeah. No, I think Beckett told me something about you wanting to keep a low profile. But if that's changed, then here, Big and Horny, or, and he pulls up another file and he passes it to you. He says, these ones, they don't care what you look like, because usually they throw a gimp hood on you. But they'd also be interested.
Well, thanks, Mr. Pulford. Well, definitely, this is actually very handy. I'll keep this in mind.
Out of character, who wants to give a name to troll-based BDSM porn? Of course, Kara immediately starts typing. But was there anything further, Whiskey, or are you done with
Big
Pulford?
DSM. Oh, well, if you can let Mr. Powell know I'll be coming over as well, then yeah.
No,
I think...
no. I didn't say you'd be going there. I said I'd make sure that he connects to you so you can watch the interview, like on screen, live.
Oh, well, all right. Not well. I prefer the personal touch, but this VR thing, the know everything. Yeah, it's fine.
Pleasure chatting with you, Whiskey. You can get the fuck out of my office now.
Pleasure as always, boss, and I'm hoping to get another big down payment to your loan very soon.
See that you do.
And she leaves the office and basically informs the team of what she managed to get, which she admits is not everything they wanted, but it is at least an in.
So the rest of the team, you've been informed then of what Whiskey has got for you. Oh, of course, Hunter just got back. Hunter, Whiskey was not able to get into the interview itself, but her boss has allowed her to listen into the interview online as it's going on live, basically. Orchid will say, most likely in text or phone-based audio, so you got mostly nothing. I mean, okay, that's a start, but wow. What did you do? What did you do? Offer him? What did you? Oh, I'm guessing this is. What did you do? Offer him the lowest prize and settled for less?
Oh, kid, I'd happily let you negotiate with Mr. Pulford and seeing how in what kind of state you're gonna end up.
Orchid says, "You forgot yourself. I only negotiate from a position of strength, and I don't think making enemies with an army is the best move. Then again, could be worse. Could have turned out like your meeting."
So it looks like since that's a no-go angle, we're gonna have to go with the thing of trying to doctor the, well, medical information.
Well, the fellow is gonna contact me. That means we have a moment to chat with Mr. Powell at least.
Or, we could just enter. I'm quite certain I can care a few mag bulks.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, the building security is not completely minimal that I looked at, but it's not unbreakable.
And Orchid would say, or maybe we give him a more enticing interview instead that takes priority.
Know anybody who'd fit their clientele at this particular studio?
I'm afraid I don't have a penis.
I'm just gonna keep the insult I had locked and loaded for that, just tucked away for now.
Tucked.
Orchid says, say that you're pre-op, Mike. Convince him with your charming good looks.
I think I have better luck, probably have better luck cracking the mag lock just running into him in the hallway, but, you're welcome to give it a shot.
Well, you're pretty girly. You don't have a beard after all.
Well, we do happen to have an elf, and I would assume elves are quite popular in this market.
And Orchid says, yeah, I'm sure Mike with a little makeup, we could totally make you look the part.
Also,
So, out of character, sounds like Orchid's channeling a bit of Grimm, but sorry, go ahead.
also on the flip side, can't you magic people maybe, I don't know, conjure up the right parts?
You mean flesh sculpting like that?
Yeah, or an illusionary one,
I don't think Okami would have any knowledge of magical flesh sculpting.
I mean,
The spells exist, but she does not have any.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a strap on, like you could illusion over.
Yeah, I don't have the magic for that. Well, the knowledge of the spells needed for what you're requesting.
I wonder if Sis wouldn't have such spells. She probably doesn't even know what one looks like.
Orchid saying, maybe different route, we just ruin that guy's day so he cancels on her?
Fair idea, but that is just a delaying tactic.
Athena's been awfully quiet. Any input from her?
She's not offering to go in there because I'm uncomfortable with it.
Alternative options, solutions that come to mind?
Don't let her get to the interview.
Well, he already is known to have a drug issue, right?
Set her to enter the wrong location.
There is
How do
that.
you propose we do that?
So the three options that immediately occur to me is set up the wrong location to host the interview and hope that and somehow convince her that's the one. B is we just take him out, the old-fashioned way. Use the location, and then say sorry when it comes, and hope that we finish off the interview before security arrives, because it's being well watched, and there'll be trouble for it. So that's the obvious worst option.
Yeah, I'd prefer
Oh,
not to
hold on, Twister. You had a third option.
The third option is we basically come to her and pretend that the interview's on a different location, because going to her residence is not an option for this due to the fact that she's in the rich area, and I'm pretty sure that that's kind of the scandal that's going to get us killed.
Out of character, you're not even sure of her exact address.
Yep.
I don't know. I think the information was shared, but if it wasn't, it appears that Piper Posey's real name, both the dead name and it would be a legally recognized name.
Yep.
You have that information, but you don't know if she's actually at that location. Just that it was through the Evo Corporation, which her mother works, and that her mother is most likely somewhere within the Evo Corporation's arcology.
Yep. So, assuming that she isn't living there due to the fact that she doesn't want to be under the control of her mother, which is likely given the situation that we find ourselves in right now, we're going to have to get in contact with her in some way or another. Obviously, the easiest way would be to snoop it up, not release any information, therefore continuing the contract that we have in place, and then continue with the aforementioned plan that I've mentioned. Because honestly, going to this location, taking him out, and pretending to do the interview is the worst option, other than simply letting it happen. Actually, probably worse than that. Because if the interview happens, there's still a chance that she won't be happy with the job and will quit. If we go there, we are undoubtedly causing an issue, which will end up with a fight.
Yeah, I really don't want to be fighting Mr. Powell. I mean, he lives just like 2 blocks away from me and works for the same boss. Like this would cause a lot of trouble for me if I was linked to hitting people in my own organization, as it were.
You've already linked yourself if something should bad happen to him in a short period of time.
Aye, exactly.
I don't think that's going to be necessary. Okami, you said from viewing his aura, he seems to be a shockingly decent guy for the line of work he's in, right?
With a minor drug problem, yeah.
Well, quite frankly, if we give him a sufficiently vague and edited version of the truth, he himself may be willing to help us out here. We explain that basically we don't think she's doing this because she wants to, but because she is having family issues, and we think that this would be, basically we appeal to his good nature. It might play out for us.
How much of what did you say at Whiskey that the other guy mentioned, conversation-wise? Did you iterate everything he said?
That Pulford said, yeah, as much as Whiskey would pick up on, yes.
Okay, so if he's okay with that, if her boss is okay with that, and they both work with the same boss, who's to say Powell just would not still go along with it?
The only thing Whiskey might leave out is her interest in getting the contacts to maybe get into that line of work. That might be something she keeps to herself.
That makes sense to leave out.
Yeah.
My point is that before we start contemplating violence, kidnapping, what have you, maybe just try. If this guy's a decent soul, so to speak, let's try and appeal to that decency.
The diplomatic approach before any of the more violent alternatives.
Alright, well, he is gonna contact me and everything if all goes well, so...
Do we have any way to safely and gently knock him out in case we need to have someone take his, well, job or position for short term? AKA impersonate themselves as Powell.
Whiskey, you said that your boss was going to let you actually watch the interview?
Yeah, I believe that's the case.
That sounds suspiciously much like security cameras that we don't want to mess with if we don't have to. Or that we'd have to address if we do have to.
It also means that you hacker fellas will basically be given access to those security cameras, so that might be a good in.
Point of order. Whiskey doesn't really understand hacking as so well, but Orchid, Sybil, it would give you information which you could utilize to hack into said cameras, but it's not like you'd necessarily be getting permission. It's not the same thing in your world, even if Whiskey doesn't understand that.
Yeah, to Whiskey it's just like a faucet being opened. That's her idea of it. So anyways, I'd like to indeed just go with the diplomatic approach that Mike suggests at first. And if we get the sense that that's not going to work, then yeah, maybe something more drastic.
Are there any objections to attempting multiple methods to success, starting with the most diplomatic?
None.
And I like the way Orc phrased that.
Oh, yes. Orchid, in response to Whiskey saying, well, you're going to have access to the cameras, Orchid explained, it's like showing us the front door, but it's barred and the bouncers are still there. But yeah, again, like your failed meeting, a start.
All right, so do you have any way to contact this guy? Whiskey? Or was it one of those he'll call you?
I think
Yeah.
it's a case of he'll call you. And from what you told me, if Pulfat calls him and tells him to do it, I think he'll be right up on that pretty quickly.
Well, gee, it's too bad we don't have people who have knowledge of computer systems who could make sure that any such phone call got, say, misrouted.
Why would you want... Which phone call are you suggesting to misroute?
That were Pulford to call Powell and try and say, hey, I don't care what you think, hire this girl anyway, that such a phone call would not make it through to Powell's comlink.
But that call isn't necessarily going to be getting made.
Exactly. So, well, in reality, what we'd probably do is we'd be eavesdropping in, and during a certain time period, we'd just simply make sure that any call from Pulford got rerouted.
So is Mike asking Orchid and or Sybil to basically put a line tap in on Pulford?
Well, more accurately, in on Powell, if we can do that. Are you two up for it?
I'm gonna be right back.
Yeah, I'd like to say that that is a dangerous thing. At least if you want to, like, I know there's a couple of pretty security things here in the Hammersmith that Pulford has, so...
That's why I'm suggesting we don't do it at Pulford's End. We do it at Powell's End.
Orca says, I mean, I suppose sure, but the risk of ruining this at this step is very high.
So we try the diplomatic approach before we start hacking. Well, Whiskey, you're at the Hammersmith, right?
Alright, just getting on down, cleaning up some things.
All right, I'll drive over, pick you up, and we'll go see if we can just knock on the front door and maybe chat with this Powell fellow.
Sounds like a plan.
Worst he can say is no.
Out of character, Whiskey could literally walk down the street and probably get there before you, Mike.
Yes, but does she want to do it without the designated face to help her out?
Well, I'm just saying she could meet you there. You don't have to drive to pick her
Oh,
up
also true,
and
but-
drive her literally half a block back in the direction you're coming from.
Well, I have no idea how exercise-friendly Whiskey is.
Well, I'll take the walk. She has an 11 body. I think she's pretty exercise friendly.
You know, this could be like L.A., where people drive across the street.
All right, how about the rest of you? Is anyone else taking along with Mike and Whiskey? We're going to rule for now, since Andre's not here, that Pink is back in the Lambeth zone and dealing with her own shit. Not that any of you have specifically said you needed Pink for anything, but, you know, if anyone calls her and asks, you've got an answer. Sybil would like to go with you, Mike.
Oh, no, of course. Mike would be terribly upset about that. Joking, obviously. No, it's fine.
Orchid, I imagine you'd probably want to stay indoors and just hack your way. Or, well, you let me know what you want. And Okami, what did you want?
At the moment, I'll just go with Mike and Whiskey.
So, did I understand correctly that Okami, you allowed Orchid to stay at your place overnight?
Just for
Or
let her
could
just
you-
crash on the couch.
Or, okay, so you didn't drive her back to her own place, you brought her to yours.
It's just easier pick up that way later for picked up because neither of us have a car, I believe.
I would suggest, like, not going to the front door with, like, a whole gang of 4 of us, though. I'd imagine I get nervous if I just suddenly see 4 kind of types like us standing in front of your front door.
Yeah, I was thinking it'd be just you and me, and then Sybil and whoever else could stay in my ride, and they'd be close enough to do whatever needs to be done.
Well, here's the
I
thing,
monitor
though.
from a distance.
I don't have to physically be there to be in the room with you guys.
But your meat body needs a place to be, and if you're going to ride with us, it'll be in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, so I go with you guys, my physical body stays there, and then you have creepy ghost wolf lady following you in the ether.
Well, we'll have not at all creepy Ninetails woman following us in the resonance, so that's out of character, by the way.
That
and
does
this-
remind me. This fellow is a magical fellow, right? Would he be able to see, like, your astrally projected type of thingy? I'm not too familiar with how all that works.
Only if he's looking into the astral... Only if he's looking into the spiritual realm actively.
And out of character Okami, you know that an adept usually does not have the ability to perceive the astral. However, did anyone in Okami, were you in? No, that was Pirate. So yeah, has anyone informed Okami about the fact that deep weed is apparently a popular drug in this area? I don't see any reason why any of you might have that conversation with her.
No, but Mike might point out that, of course, usually is not even close to always.
Well, if he had an awakened drug on the premises, wouldn't I have detected that?
Again, you got 3 hits, and you were mainly looking at his aura. Twister, are you here or are you AFK? I'm guessing Twister has abandoned us. We must punish him for that.
Oh my.
I am very much confused as to why you are sending that link, Hunter. But okay, so we'll leave Athena kind of up in the air right now. We'll grab Sybil, Whiskey, and Okami, and we drag them across over to here. Mike will likely park in the guest parking, or would he park at a different location and walk?
When you guys were scouting the place earlier, you didn't see much in the way of security cameras, did you, Whiskey?
They did. There are security cameras around the
Oh, well,
exterior
in
of
that
the building.
case, probably not the best idea to park in the guest parking. We'll find the next nearest place.
So the neighboring building's guest parking?
Sure, why not? As long as they aren't all owned by Pulford. Well, except they probably are, so...
No, Pulford doesn't own apartment buildings.
Alright, then, yeah, we'll use that guest parking.
Okay, so I'll move the tokens over there instead. Although you will see coming in that the guest parking indicates that there is a limit of a half hour under normal circumstances, or up to 24 hours if a resident of the building gets approval from the not the landlord, the building manager. You can get up to 24-hour parking permitted in the guest parking area. Both buildings basically have the same rule.
Well, for now, 30 minutes should be sufficient.
Okay, and so it's just going to be Mike and Whiskey who go. Meanwhile, Sybil and Okami sit in the car.
Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds appropriate for Sybil.
Where did Athena go? Or where could she be? Twister. Well, anyway, so you would arrive at one of the entrances to the building.
Yep, pretty much the front entrance, the one that you would use to get buzzed in by somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Whiskey scouted the previous night, so she would know exactly where the front entrance and everything is.
And so you two are just hanging out there?
Well, we got two options. Either we wait for him to call us, or we just ring the doorbell and move on in, explain our connection.
So that would be the route we're trying to go for. I doubt he's going to call us for several hours.
All right, then.
Or call you more specifically.
Okay, well, if either of you want to give me a quick data search just to review the call number log, or the directory, to look up the directory for the building, if either of you want to go ahead and do that.
I have no data search knowledge, so...
Would this include the browse program rating?
No, because you're not using your comlink, you're using their terminal.
All right, then.
1 hit is exactly what you needed. So you will find that there is a Powell who happens to live in the building. Who, let's see, first name we'll say is we'll say Pete Powell. Sounds like a Marvel character now. So, who's making the call? Will it be Whiskey or Mike?
Might, should I maybe begin, since, you know, I have kind of the connection that we share?
Go for it.
Alright, I'll ring the bell.
So, he won't answer on your first attempt. Will you make a second attempt?
I will.
Okay. So it's getting up to the end of the ringing period for the second attempt to call when he finally does connect. He says, who is it?
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, okay. Before we continue that, Twister, would Athena have gone to the building with West End Mike and Whiskey? Would he have stayed in the car with Sybil and Okami? Or would Athena have been somewhere else entirely?
Sorry, that was a lot of options. Why are we going to the house?
Whiskey and West End Mike are attempting to get in contact with Powell to see if they'll just let them come right in.
I see. She wouldn't immediately go there because if it goes sideways at all, we'd rather have. If we want to try again in the future, we'd rather not play all of our cards. So she'd wait in the car in case they needed help, but to make sure that if they need to, they can track it later. So she'd wait in the car.
Okay, so Okami, Athena, and Sybil are all in the car.
Not a terrible idea. That way, if Okami and Sybil are both out of their bodies at the same time, Athena can keep an eye on things.
But yeah, so Powell answers the call and basically just like, what? Hello?
Good morning, Mr. Powell. My name is Miss Kelly, and well, we both work for Pulford Entertainment Industries. I believe you're familiar with the organization, yes?
Funny way to say it, but what's this about?
Well, we're at the front door, so let's keep it civil. Well, we were hoping, me and a friend of mine were hoping if we could maybe have a little talk about, well, one of your actresses. We think she might be getting in some trouble, and, well, we really don't want that to happen.
So go ahead and give me an etiquette roll without the bonus from the empathy software.
And also without tailored pheromones, since obviously he
Yes,
can smell us.
Excellent point, yes.
Alright, so that's skill rating plus charisma, so that's 10.
Bravo.
Wow, I'm lucky.
That's pretty good. I was going to say, this is a bit unorthodox. I don't generally talk about my my actresses. You wouldn't happen to be the Pulford sent me a message this morning. You said your name's Kelly?
Aye, that's correct.
Huh. Okay, then I guess you're not who I thought. Okay.
No, I believe it might be the same person. Yeah, I have a worker name and a well, normal name. You're sure to understand given your work.
Right, and so your working name?
Would Pelford usually use the name Whiskey for her, or
Internally, yeah.
all right, then just he probably referred to me as Whiskey.
Mike, roll a composure. And whiskey says whiskey, and what was the Bing about?
Kara's out of character comment.
I'm not familiar with Scarius Maximus. What's that?
Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
One of those. Okay. I have no idea about the context here, but okay. But Powell says, okay, whiskey. All right. Irish accent. It's all making a bit of sense now. But Pulford said I just had to send you the video feed. What's this about coming here?
Well, as said, it's more of a favor to me, but yeah.
Interruption? The phone hangs up.
What an asshole.
Are you going to call back again, or sorry, what was that, Mike?
You were making progress until you told him that you were the same person who he had already promised and probably had been told by your boss not to do anything more for.
Well, both of you roll a judge intention for me. Whiskey, you'll probably still feel what an asshole. But Mike, that seemed too sudden. Like, even for Powell. Powell, his expression and his tone of voice was very much questioning and curious, not hostile.
Interesting. Okay. Mike will try and buzz him this time. He'll say, "Hey, Whiskey, let me try."
I'm sure, I'm hoping you're better with this than I am.
Okay? And pretty much as soon as it reconnects, Powell will say, sorry, it hit the maximum time. Wait, who are you?
Just a friend of Whiskey's here. Sorry, we thought something might have gone wrong. Hey, Whiskey, go ahead.
Yeah, no. How about I come down to see you? Because this thing's got a timer so that someone doesn't bogart the system. Just give me a couple of minutes. I'll be out front. Does that sound
that'd
good?
be great. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yes, that will be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be down there. Just let me get dressed.
Okay.
So in the couple of minutes that you have to wait for him, are either of you going to discuss anything, update the rest of the team, any plans or plotting?
Go ahead and update the rest of the team, of course, but basically the plan is just explain that we think this girl is under emotional distress and that it would probably be better for everybody involved if he was able to talk her out of this job. Or this line of work, better yet.
I'd also might, drop the hints that she might have some maybe dangerous folks and everything, and that might bring along trouble that we don't want, they don't want. That's kind of one of the suggestions I made with Paul Fred, but he didn't seem to pick up on it too well, and I didn't want to drop the whole AAA company, as then he might see a opportunity to exploit, and then we're really screwed.
Not to mention, I seem to remember something about don't mention certain information or make sure certain information doesn't become public. That might fall under that. But other than that, anybody else?
Athena, Okami, Sybil, Orchid, any input?
Am I privy to the phone call?
Well, I would assume West End Mike or Whiskey would be doing open transmission with the team.
Yeah, heck, Mike, you'd be getting video feed on top of it from his cyber eyes.
Oh, that's true. Well, in that case, she'd ask if she should join along or if she should still stay in the car. If Mike has it.
Definitely stay there. This guy's already kind of unsure about this. I don't think he wants any more surprises.
If we want to keep doing this from the diplomatic aspect, we're gonna have to just continue to go with this at this point because this is the best that we got at the moment.
Orchid will send a text message. Worst comes to worst, we can kidnap him.
And I think Whiskey and I can handle that if that's what it comes to.
And I really hope it doesn't come to that.
As
As
do
I said.
I.
Might be a bit obvious and everything.
So I'd like the two of you to do a visual perception roll, please. Oh, actually, I guess technically anyone looking through Mike's eyes could do his eyes quality rating to see as well.
Yeah, what would the roll for that be?
Mike, what's the quality of your eyes?
Let's see here. Define quality here.
Device rating.
The basic system's rating 4. It does have lots of fun toys built in, though. So vision enhancement rating 3, vision magnification, stuff like that.
Okay. So the rating 4 would mean your perception skill is limited to 4 if you had a perception rating higher than that. Orchid, you would be defaulting on this, so you'd get a total of 9, which is your intuition minus 1 plus the 3 from Mike's eyes. Athena, how is yours so high? What's your intuition?
My intuition is come on, load it up. 3 plus perception is 1 plus the adept skill, improved ability perception.
Does improved ability perception work with AR?
It's enhanced perception.
But does it work
So
with...
for 195. Page 195.
Does Sybil get any bonuses?
Well, honestly, Mike with the 4 hits will be well, hell,
Enough
Whiskey.
anyways.
Yeah, like everyone except Orchid, it seems, is going to be doing well enough that the window, the glass doors leading into the building, you'll be able to see Powell coming down the hallway, and he's wearing basically a button-up suit. A button-up shirt, long sleeves. The sleeves are rolled up basically to just below his elbows, and he's got a tie loosely around his neck, sort of like what the token looks like, but his hair is a little bit more frazzled. He hasn't had a chance to really style it yet this morning, and he hasn't fully trimmed up his beard, so he's got just a little bit of scruff as well with his pretend shadow, but he looks professional enough that you can tell that when he cleans up very nicely.
To answer your question, each level it provides an additional die for all perception tests, even including a sensing tests.
But does it say AR?
It just says for all perceptions, including even a sensing. Page 195.
Okay.
So I guess that's up to you.
I'd say AR yes, VR no.
So in this case, it's a no.
Well, no, yeah, you don't use VR, do
Yeah,
you?
that's true. I was like, wait a second, does she even have the ability? I don't think I had that on her. Gear.
yeah.
Anyways,
So, yeah, pretty much the only one who's not paying enough attention is Orchid. Sybil also seems slightly distracted for whatever reason.
Also, just to note that Whiskey would be well dressed and unarmed. Just to be clear with that.
But yeah, Powell will come straight out the doors, and oh, so Okami, you're there in an astral presence.
Seth, can you look through the eyes, the sensing?
What?
If you know a way to use Mike's cyber eyes to a sense, that's a hell of a trick.
Yeah, that would break the world because everyone would want to get Okami and figure out how she did that.
dragons beware.
Well, this is technically outside, right?
What?
He
Oh,
walked
okay,
outside
I get
to
where
meet you.
she's going. If you have line of sight, which, I mean, admittedly, you may not from the car, although you might be able to astrally project a little ways, you can use digital things to get a close-up of what you're looking at. They mentioned the example of a bomb squad technician. As long as he's got line of sight to the bomb, he can use a robot's camera to get a better look at what he's doing with his magic fingers manipulation.
Yes, but that's different than a sensing.
True.
But
No, I was just thinking
but-
Powell walked outside to see them, right?
but you aren't next to, like, if you look at the map here, you've got this whole building between you over here and them over there. You do not have direct line of sight.
Yeah, but there's an easy way to just astrally project myself to
Okay,
an
so
angle where I can.
that's what I asked. Are you astrally projecting? So yes,
yeah,
you are.
far enough away
Okay.
where he won't be able to notice me is easy, but I can still get line of sight.
But yeah, 4 hits, you recognize it's the same aura as before. He is a little bit sleepy and groggy. He apparently didn't want to wake up this early.
Nothing new.
He's also pensive. He is not paranoid, but he is a little bit unsure about this whole whiskey and other guy thing coming to his place.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious and a given that he wouldn't be on edge, so that I don't have to report that.
But yeah, he'll come out the door and he'll extend his hand for shaking, first to Whiskey, and then to Mike after Whiskey has either shake or not, or made it obvious she's not going to shake, whatever the case may be. And he'll introduce himself as Pete Powell and explain that he is the talent agent and minor producer for the LC. What was it? LCS production studio.
Mike would introduce himself when he shakes his hand as, when I'm on the job, my friends will call me West End Mike. Mind if we sit down? Sorry if we woke you a little early. We didn't want to bother you in the middle of the night, but looks like we may have anyway. Sorry about that.
I deeply
No,
sorry.
it's still morning. The sun is up. There's overcast.
Well, it might be the middle of
but,
his night is what he meant by that.
He's like, oh well, there's a artificial arboretum just over here in the other building. If you'd like to sit down in a pleasant surrounding.
Oh, it will be very
the way.
nice, thank you.
So basically, as he's leading the way to the other part of the building, he would basically say, "This is a little bit irregular." Now, Mr. Pulford, all he did was tell me that I was to give you a live feed of the interview process. He said something about this girl being a friend of yours. I didn't really have a chance to. I just woke up, so the message is a bit confusing to me. Why don't you let me know what's going on here?
Well, of course, and yeah, sorry for calling out of a sudden, but as you might guess, well, you know the interview is just in a couple of hours, so time was kind of the essence when we heard of it. But yeah, I know this girl, and well, I think she's just in a very confused place, and I do not think she would get very happy going into the LCS business as it is. So I was.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that seems very odd because I've conducted a number of pre-interviews with her, where we met on the Matrix, and I get the distinct impression that she is a perfect fit for this business.
Whiskey, let me try and explain. Are we in some area that would be relatively private, where if Mike
Not
lowers
in the
his voice-
slightest.
Okay.
Not in the, like, he's actually brought you over to a commercial portion of the building. So there's a bunch of market stalls that are opening up. People are starting to do, like, morning shopping, and like it's people winding up for the day right now.
Okay. I don't really want to say this out loud, Mr. Powell. Here, I'll tell you what. Let me just send you an AR message explaining. And Mike would basically say, it looks like her father committed suicide over her transitioning, and we're concerned that this may be a thing that she's acting out with.
Orchid sent us a text message to the team saying, "Not that I have no faith in Mike, but I think we need to start working on plans C through G." But yeah, Mike, you send the message saying that the girl's father committed suicide, you believe, over transitioning, and what was the last bit of that?
That, well, basically, and we've heard that he's a pretty decent guy, and we're concerned that this is something she's going to regret once she gets over that part of her life, that recent event.
Out of character, when did I say the suicide had happened?
I don't believe you did.
We know we know that the father committed suicide. The reasons behind it were not known to us.
Which is why I said we suspect.
Right.
Or
So
at least Mike suspects.
So Powell will say, "All right, I'm just." He stops walking and he kind of puts his hand up and he just looks to Mike, looks over his shoulder at Whiskey, and looks back to Mike and says, "All right, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to stop you right there because this sounds way off base. I have spoken with this young woman at length, and what you're telling me is not at all what my understanding of the situation is."
Oh, well then, if you wouldn't, if it wouldn't be too much of a problem, could you fill us in on what your understanding of the situation is?
Yeah,
we
'cause
may
if
be
you
the
can-
ones in the wrong here.
Yeah, if you can help ease my worries, that would help a lot.
You can both tell from the look on his face that he's really uncomfortable here and trying to be professional. Orchid wants to make a scan, so let me just double check that. I think you'd be looking at a dice pool of 18 if you're going into VR, Orchid. Fantastic. Okay. Orchid, you can tell that the only devices he has on his person right now are his comm link, a earphone device, basically, and his clothing, which are transmitting their chip signals. His clothing is pretty expensive. He didn't seem to bring any other equipment with him, but his comlink is attempting to reach out to several devices that are in his apartment, which include a whole gamut of basic utility items that people have on average if they've got good money. So AR gloves, contacts, lenses, all that sort of stuff. So he left all that at home, it seems, but that's just nearby. Hunter, what are you up to there?
Sybil is doing the same thing.
Orchid gets way more information than you do. But yeah, so Powell stops and he says, look, it's not like I am a priest or a psychiatrist or whatever, but I kind of respect the agreement to a certain level of privacy with the actresses I work with. And frankly, I think if I continue this conversation with you, that'll be a gross violation of the trust that I've built with this young woman. So it seems pretty clear to me that something's going on here. And I'm going to give you a chance to explain, no lies, please, or I'm going to politely ask you that you stay here while I go home.
Mike will glance at Whiskey, see what she's going through her head.
Always goes, look, the thing is this. Like, we both work for Mr. Bulford. And, well, you do your side of the business. I work in the more unpleasant side of the business, if you understand that side, the very unpleasant side of the business. And what I don't want to happen is to have this young girl get into an environment where eventually she ends up where I am. If you understand me?
I understand, and that absolutely will not be the case. My studio productions are very much above board. I understand that Pulford has some shadier aspects to his business enterprises, and I am definitely not involved in those.
Mike at this point would cut in, I think. It's just, look, her mother reached out to us. She's very concerned. And look, if you gotten a pretty good idea for this young lady and you think that she's doing this for the right reasons, I'm not going to sit here and try and convince you otherwise. But if you haven't asked, I'd at least appreciate it if you'd asked. That's all I'm saying.
The look on his face during that entire thing, you can tell quite clearly that this does not come at all as a surprise to him, and that it's almost a joke with the expression on his face. He says, okay, this is all starting to make much more sense now. I believe you should speak to this young woman's mother, assuming it's the same one that we're talking about here, and explaining to her that she has no business interfering with her daughter's choices. Will that be all, friends?
Just an OC reminder. How much were we getting paid for this job?
125,000 between all of you.
All right. So can someone let me get the calculator to divide that quick? All right. So about 17 each. Okay.
Orchid will send a text message saying, Yes, we do have business. That is our fucking job to tell. You know what? Don't tell him that, but this complicates things more than you idiots already complicated things. Holy fucking shit.
So Whiskey could make kind of a final tap, like, if I were to pay you, Mr. Powell, if I were to pay you, say, 7,000 million, would you perhaps agree to maybe convince her that she could go into maybe a little bit more upper board type of a less exposing type of business or maybe modeling?
If you want to make this into a matter of a purely business transaction, a financial, 7,000 isn't going to cut it. This young woman stands to make us substantially more through a production series that Mr. Pulford and I have already started discussing. Orchid will also. Mike, are you texting that?
Yeah, that was a direct reply to Orchid's text.
Which is?
So my reply to her outburst there was, "Oh, and what was your genius plan? Try lying to the magically powered social adept or expert?"
And Orchid replies, "Sorry, that outburst was too unprofessional for me. I shouldn't lower myself to your standards."
That's not really an answer, would be his reply text back.
Whiskey at that would probably block Orchid for the moment on the comms.
But yeah, so Mike, I don't know if you're distracted by Orchid still. Orchid says that's not really a good job you did. But Powell's basically saying that 7,000 is definitely not going to cut it. If you want to basically bribe him out of hiring Posey, even though he hasn't dropped that name yet, then like you're gonna have to go way higher than 7,000.
Mike is not even going to attempt that route. He understands that Mr. Powell is a surprisingly principled person between the conversation and what Okami's already told us. This line of attack does not seem to be getting us anywhere. In fact, Mike would probably apologize for Whiskey and just, look, I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. It does clarify quite a few things. We'll get out of your hair and let you get back to sleep. And Mike would kind of grab Whiskey's arm and kind of start pulling her away.
I do thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I understand.
Powell,
I'm sorry, but yeah, we were just desperate.
when Whiskey says the word desperate, both of Powell's eyebrows raise, but the rest of his face doesn't change expression. But yeah, the two of you are just leaving, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll just move your tokens out of the way. You lose sight of Powell.
No. Never try and bribe or lie to an honest person. And this guy seems surprisingly honest and straightforward. Just may mean that for once, we're not working for the good guys. Oh, no, wait, that's kind of part of the job. So either way, we'll need a new plan. This one's not working.
Alright, seems so.
Sorry.
Honestly, if I were in his shoes, I would have done the exact same thing, really. Well, I may have taken a bribe, but that's me.
Yeah, except it sounds like he was already discussing contract details with Pulford. So, a $7,000 bribe for botching a multi-thousand or possibly million New Yen contract is probably not a good exchange for working, from what you've said of Pulford.
Yeah, true. So maybe I wouldn't have taken that bribe. Fair enough.
What just happened?
They botched the diplomatic route and kind of
They were kidnapping?
overplayed. No, we're not there yet, but we might be. They overplayed their hand and let slide some information they probably shouldn't have. Orchid will send a text message. Okay, at this point, he's able to contact her, so our job is now basically either kidnap him or kidnap her or something. Or we somehow make a better deal with Whiskey's boss. Maybe we can trade Whiskey for Posey. Orchid, as soon as you finish texting that message, you will notice that Powell is still in the space, like he hasn't really moved far from where he was before, but he is now composing a, he is attempting to connect his comm link to somebody else's. He's placing a call, basically.
Oh, okay. Going to have to intercede on this.
You don't know this.
Okay.
Orchid says he's making a call. Sybil, get on it.
Did Sybil's scan pick up his comm link?
If Orchid shares the information with you, if not, then no, this area is way too busy. So Orchid did share. Okay. So you will have his network ID.
Best thing she can do. She's going to. I'm going to hate doing this. I'm going to spread a nuke.
Out of character suggestion. How about you thread an ECM and just prevent his comm link from connecting?
Well, out of character, because that would also jam the other people in this area.
And as Shadowrunners, we care why?
Jamming is indiscriminate. And if suddenly if a bunch of people start having their signals jammed, that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe someone in this apartment complex has a pacemaker.
Again, we're Shadowrunners. Why do we care?
I'm sorry, could you remind me where an unwired nuke is?
Nuke is. Ah, fuck. I don't think it's in Unwired. I think it's in SR4. Under Matrix programs.
Nope, it is definitely in Unwired. It's page 111.
Okay. The civil's taking another stun. Read it again. Currently 3 hits. Beat those 2, so resist 2.
Also, Orchid, what are you doing during this? Because we'll be moving at VR speeds here, because I would assume you would both be working in VR.
So is Orchid gonna nuke him too, or what is she doing? And VT, we never got to work on updating Sybil. Would it be theoretically possible for her to have Edge? Because I was planning on buying 2 when we got the chance to upgrade her.
But if that's the case, then Whiskey would probably have more edge as well. So that's a whole
Yeah,
rabbit
I was
hole we
gonna say.
open then.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfair for one player character to have an advantage that none of the other player characters have. On the other hand, it's also unfair of, I have not given all of you everything you need to have your full bag of tricks. So what I propose is that you operate on what you have right now, and I will be upping your karma rewards at the conclusion of this mission.
That's 1 rating 5 nuke. I roll 2 more since I did 2 threads.
Your first nuke has absolutely no effect.
Second nuke. Where are my rolls from last week?
Sorry, I'm just double checking here to see if there is a damage resistance test for nuke.
Would I be able to tell that a bit of, since I'm still in the astral, would I be able to tell that there's a bit of duress going on from my team and this guy?
I wouldn't necessarily say duress, but he got out of line of sight by walking into a building. Would your astral body have entered the building? A Bobop?
Sorry, as soon as you asked that question, that cat jumped into my lap, so I missed that. So, what was the question again?
He had walked into a building. Would Okami have pursued in her astral form into the building?
Would honestly, at that point, go back into a flesh body to figure out what's going on.
Okay, if
If she
that's the
couldn't
case,
hear
then
anything while astral.
then she would overheard the conversation digital, or like through augmented digital, or comlink. That's
AR.
what I'm looking for.
So ARG's like, what just happened? Okay, what is going on? Why'd he leave? Would be her question as soon as she gets back to her flesh body.
Yes, and sorry that took so long. I was just trying to see what the damage resistance roll would be. And so you've scored 2 points there, Sybil. What were you targeting?
His signal.
Signal is nuke does nothing to signal. Nuke is for response or system.
System.
All right, well,
I get 1 more.
except no, because you were doing all that threading.
That was 2 threads.
Yeah,
And
and
2
you have,
attacks. And I have 5.
you have 5 as Sybil?
Technomancer.
No, by default, Technomancers have 3, I believe.
Right.
Because
check
you
your
need
sheet.
an echo to increase the number of
Yeah.
Matrix Initiative passes you have.
Yeah, I thought it was Hot Sim automatically gives you at least 4.
No, God no. Hot Sim gives you 3. Cold Sim gives you 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Prodigy has so many because he's got himself a certain implant and SimSense booster device.
Which costs an arm, a leg, and a few other body parts to boot.
Well, essence and some money, yes. And in fact, I think, yeah, the booster probably costs more than a cyber arm.
Yes. Getting the submersions and all that stuff is where you start to get to the point of where.
Oh, she has
Technomasters-
echoes. She just hasn't spent her echoes on that, as I recall.
Yeah, no, but it's the echoes and stuff like that that tend to take the technomancers beyond what hackers can do.
In any event, Orchid, you were putting things onto standby. Sybil has apparently flung some. Well, actually, I guess you need to roll first, Orchid. So go ahead and give us your. What was the roll you made last time? 17. So this time it'll be. No, wait, no, that's not the right. Where's the. Oh, it was 18 for your Snoop, so it'll be 19 for this one because of a certain bonus you have. All right, you're not sure how Sybil is launching this nuke program, but the effects are clear that she is attempting to run a nuke on her target, but it is oh wait, out of character. Oh wait, okay, never mind, my mistake. If this works like an attack, however, each box of nuke damage instead deducts. Okay, so if nuke reduces, okay, both values need to reach 0 before it freezes. All right. So at the moment, he's basically had a system malfunction, but his device is still working. So Orchid, Sybil's basically rendered his comlink half non-functional. You could finish the job. Okay, so to nuke will be an 18 SR4 for you. Okay, and since Sybil already destroyed his system, there is no damage resistance test, just the dodge attempt. And so between the two of you, you've crashed his cell phone, basically. Anybody care to do anything else?
Well, he's not making a call for the moment.
Okay, but for more information. Okay, are we at the point where we're gonna grab this guy? Okami's just saying flat out.
He's in a public space in a public building. Is that where you want to do that?
I
No,
prefer
but we'll
not to
have-
grab him at all.
But we're on a very short clock here, and we just now caused some incidences. We gotta do something about this.
Orchid
How did we
says,
cause an incident?
Orchid says at this point we have to, or he's going to go to Pulford.
You know that? That was who he was trying to call?
And what's the problem? We just had a talk.
Orchid texts him like, you need to be what? Oh, you need to be the stand-in for him. You're gonna have to be the porn elf.
Which doesn't really answer my question. Do either of you know who he was trying to call?
I don't. I just reacted. Shut it down.
Orchid says it was either the girl or Pulford. Tell me which one is worse, because neither are better options.
Pulford is far worse. The girl would be horribly unimpressed to learn that her mother was tinkering in her life again. If that's all he's trying to contact, we are not in a particularly bad place. If he's trying to contact Pulford, I'll run in there with a gun and we'll just have to drag his ass out unconscious.
Out of character, are your tokens where you want them to be, or would you have walked further away at that point?
If Orchid's thinking about grabbing him, then walking away would seem to be the opposite of a
Yeah,
good
so
suggestion.
just let me know where you want your tokens to be, because it's kind of significant.
This is escalating preposterously fast.
Orchid says, oh, you're right. Sorry for disrupting your plans again. Remind me, though, which were those? The plans? Because at this point, I'm not sure you have one.
Do you? I'm making this up as I go along because that's kind of what we do. If you have a plan, I'm listening.
At that moment in time, you'll be the stand-in. We gotta get this guy out of there because at the moment we have limited options right now. Otherwise, we just all walk away from this job.
Well, my point is, how do you suggest we do that? He is in a public building.
I prefer to intercept the girl and actually talk to her. But whatever.
You remember that the parameters of the job was we're not supposed to touch her, we're just supposed to watch over her?
And what I want is to have a talk with her and convince her out of this.
Which we were clearly told not to do.
Why not? No, we were not told.
We were
not.
We're not.
We're not to harm her, and we aren't meant to cause her psychological trouble. There's nothing about not talking to her.
Out of character. I think that's exactly what Okami's hinting at. But Orchid will say, then Whiskey uses her damn muscle to barge in, but if you think a girl who will be looking out for us and now knows we're going to fuck things up, and what? Your diplomacy skills are worse than mine? What the fuck?
Considering what we know of her engaged to the Johnson, it's best that we kidnap him, then we physically touch her and risk her physical harm.
God damn, you're
Or
lucky I rolled
we
so
just-
high.
Or
You're missing
we
my
just walk
point.
away.
You're all missing the point. How do you propose we do this? Are we going to barge into a public building, which undoubtedly has security cameras, waving guns around, clobber the guy over the head, and drag him out? Is that the plan here, with no disguises?
Do we have the time for that?
If he's not trying to contact Pulford, then yes, we have the time to step back and come up with a better plan.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. At that point is, we crashed his communication. He was likely going to call Pulford or the girl anyway, like Orchid mentioned. So at the moment, what do you think he's going to do once he can get to communications? Especially after Whiskey gave herself away.
Orchid, Orchid, Whiskey has you muted, by the way. So you would be aware that Whiskey's not receiving your messages right now. She did block you during that conversation. Well, let's take a quick break here, and anyone needs a beverage or something, now's the opportunity. Twister, as Athena, had something on mind?
Yep. Where did we finish off?
Basically, it was everyone was having a kind of heated conversation in text messages or subvocal microphones or the like.
Oh, okay, but what was the last sentence? Because I wanted to, build from there and then switch in the direction that I was going to do.
Right. So, does anyone remember what was said before that message from Orchid that didn't actually get sent because she wouldn't have been sending messages to Whiskey?
I think the last thing we said was about Okami. Uncle Okami saying, do we just want to grab him? What do we got to do here? Because at the moment, this is completely blown out of proportion. We either got to grab him, just got to get out of this job at this point. Because at the moment, everything's blown from what I'm perceiving as.
So the last thing we had, Athena, was Okami being a pessimist.
Okay.
Definitely glass 2/3 empty.
2/3 empty. So nobody would. I don't think anyone would hear it. But Athena would clap her hands again, like she's done the last 2 times before deciding to intervene.
Well, 4 of us are in the car with you, so.
Oh, you did come back to the car? Because
Yeah,
I just see the tokens.
Actually projecting back in my flesh.
Okay, just the other 2.
Well, so 2 people in the car, and Mike and Whiskey are still over here. But
So yeah, everyone who's in the car.
Yeah,
can hear
they
you
don't
clapping.
hear.
Yeah.
Except for Sybil.
Yeah, just a single clap. By the way, it's not multiple clapping.
Just to get attention.
Yeah, just to get attention. Sorry, just a sec.
I hope Twister's okay.
Did someone just
Yep,
break into Twister's home?
Nope, maybe just a second.
Welcome to
Alright.
Doom.
Sorry. She'd clap, and then go into the comms and be like, "West End, Whiskey and Mike, please come back. We don't need to escalate this further." Point over to half, 1/3 filled, and say, "We are here to complete the mission as a team. We will remain a team for as long as the mission lasts." Fuck, just
Mike would reply with, "Or we all murder each other," but you would
What's the
probably
other
be able to
option?
tell he's not being serious.
yeah.
If we all murdered each other, I'd win, probably.
My
What
will
was
kill you.
Athena's question?
It wasn't a question. It
Oh,
was,
no,
it was
okay.
leaning over and telling our cup 1/3 filled.
Pessimist.
Yes, our pessimist that we're a team for as long as we're a team. And then probably who turned off the other person's mic? Ignore the messages.
Sorry, what?
Someone said that they muted everyone else, muted someone else's messages. Was it-
Whiskey.
Orchid muted.
Whiskey muted Orchid, but I think at this when they get back to the van, she would probably re-engage it. It was mostly so. Yeah, she wouldn't get pissed off during the talks with with Mr. Powell, because she didn't want to get pissed off around him.
All right. So the first objective, unfortunately, was not a success. That doesn't break the plan or the team. The next step is to make the replacement plan B is to stop it from other means. Do we have any suggestions on how we can get in contact with her to set up a new location?
Well, the only thing we had access to that was probably the the comlink that just got nuked by, well, who's not physically present, mentally present right now, by the looks of it.
She can probably feel this. And then Athena would grab onto Sybil's shoulders and squeeze lightly.
Passive perception from Sybil.
Yeah. I mean, is it perception at that point? You can
Yes,
physically
with
feel.
a -6 modifier for being in full VR.
Oh.
3 SR4.
And at the same
2 hits.
time, 2 hits.
Yeah, that should be sufficient, Sybil, to realize somebody is touching you.
Now, the question, I highly doubt Athena has any cyberware in her, right?
That is
Correct.
correct. She does not.
Okay. Yeah, Sybil wakes up and is like, what?
Need you to. I cannot speak sometimes. Need you to figure out where it's not our client, not a character. What's not target.
The interviewee,
Yeah, but it feels like there's a correct term.
the
Protectee?
mark, the
Mark probably works.
The target.
The target's probably the exact opposite of what she has to be. We're going to need you to get the Mark's contact information so we can set up a new date. Can you get her information and then make a call pretending to be I don't remember his name. The guy we just talked to and shut his phone down.
Powell.
Powell. Can you get her contact information and talk to him as if you were Powell?
Sybil will look at Athena and be like, that's a little harder.
How long is harder?
It's not long. I've got to wait for him to reboot his comlink.
Which, by the way, he still hasn't done.
Yeah, we don't have eyes in him at all, by the way, anybody.
Well, Orchid would basically, I imagine, have one of her subordinate agents, or Sybil, before you pulled her out of VR, would be able to tell you that his earbud is still transmitting, searching for his comlink. However, Orchid and Sybil, you may both attempt a common sense roll at this juncture. Orchid, yours would be 19. No, sorry, 16. 16.
Sybil's just wondering why Athena has a hold of her.
She let go when you opened your eyes and turned over.
Orchid, also roll composure for me with a very challenging threshold. You get the impression, Orchid, that this guy must be a bonehead when it comes to technology, because he still hasn't rebooted his comlink, and he's just standing around in the corner of that building, according to his earbud.
Did she say this?
I don't know. What does she say?
That's what I was asking her.
Orchid will say, any idea why this moron isn't rebooting his comm link? He's just standing there. I don't think he had any backups or brain comms.
Okami points. Sorry, Athena points to Okami and asks, "Can you check that out?"
Probably thinks
Tend to be-
just his computer is being slow.
She
Or his
she
connection is
snaps her
slow.
fingers again, points to Okami. "Can you check it out?" Pretending to be the right form.
Could I use masking and a Watcher Spirit to just send it in there? Like I did last time, I think.
You personally masked yourself, and you may attempt that, yes.
Okay. I'll look at this magic roll for masking and everything.
Intuition plus magic plus initiation grade, if I recall correctly.
Okay, so tuition is 4, 10, 3. That's 13.
I'm not even going to bother rolling because the Watcher Spirits can't beat that dice, those results.
I know, I've used Watcher Spirit. There's no way they can beat 7 hits.
So Okami will be able to successfully infiltrate her spirit form into the building, and based on the assumed location, he is not present.
Oh fuck!
Well, Okami has to return to her body to tell you that.
Yeah, but out of character, I can still react.
Yeah, and in character, just quickly out, go over there, shit back in body, and then flipping just to say,
Don't shit in your body, shit out of your body.
Says shit and returns to the form.
I know, sorry.
so, yes. Oh, it's some other Japanese curse. And it comes in, everybody's like, he dumped the comm link.
I'll let you say that because Okami doesn't really understand these sort of things.
Well, it seems like he dumped the comm link because he's not physically there, but the comm link is where it should be, according to what I've been told.
No, in astral form, you wouldn't be able to tell whether or not the comm link is there.
No, I'm
What-
saying like,
what
if,
Orchid
if I was
said. What Orchid said is that he seems to still be rebooting his comm link. That's all that.
Yeah.
That's all that Orchid had been informed.
okay, I just tell him like he wasn't where he's supposed to, where he's not physically where he's supposed to be. If that's where you get the signal from, then
That's weird. I didn't see him exit the building after us.
do any of you have access to that Roomba you guys were using earlier to scan the place?
Different building. It's an attached building, but it's a separate part of the building. However, a few seconds later, since Kara gave me permission to have Orchid, she would say that market space had an exit to the south side as well, public access.
Michael will start up the SUV and drive that direction.
Sorry, you're driving to the south?
Yeah.
If you want to, if you zoom out and take a look at the map, I will remind you that this over here is Pulford Entertainment Incorporated's headquarters, the Hammersmith.
So since he couldn't, he decided to physically walk there instead.
That
Well, my
would be-
point-
Maybe.
But if he had gone to the south and then just simply walked that way, wouldn't we have been able to spot him as he was
No,
crossing
because
the street?
you're way over here.
No, I mean before that, as we were leaving.
Well, there's a bunch
You
of
you were
buildings.
looking this direction as
Okay.
you were leaving.
All right
So,
then.
Did either of you have any reason to paranoidly look behind you at regular intervals?
Aside from being
Wait.
Shadowrunners, no.
And really, just because, like, he wouldn't necessarily have to, like, see all these trees here? He wouldn't necessarily have been in your line of sight, even if you were staring in this direction. If, say, he took this, here, let me zoom out. See, if he had took a route like this, well, you wouldn't have had the opportunity for line of sight.
Okay. Okay.
So it's pretty clear. It's like Well, he just walked there now.
Can't blame him.
Well, the car is fast, but there is something that's faster.
A spirit that can cast hold person when he's like in front of a corner, and then in front of an alley, and then we can pull him into a corner or a quiet parking lot.
So
If you're
we're
able to
all
move
perfectly
people with
okay
hold
with
person.
kidnapping him now? Because that's
I'm
what
not.
it feels like.
Then we let him be, and we move on to the plan that I just put ahead.
I mean, if
What's the
I get
consensus?
if I get angry calls from Pofat in a little bit, well, then we know exactly what happens, won't we?
All right, in that case, if we believe that he dropped his phone, or at least dropped his earbud, but we know he dropped his earbud. If he also dropped his phone, then Mike will drive over to as close as we can get to where we just were, walk in and see if he can actually find the physical phone, if he can find the comlink.
That is actually a handy plan. Then we can get easy contact information on this Piper Phillips fella lady.
We still have the issue that he's gonna go, hey, this dude in whiskey just talked to me about this stuff, and he's physically walking over to Polford to talk to him about that.
So I realize it's a bit of an overreach, but Kara's still not back, I take it? No?
No.
So, given that, what's her name? Orchid is such a egocentrical showboat, she will have left a little AR signal about where the earpiece is located, approximate location within 5 meters in that corner of the building, basically very close to where you talk to him. But if any of you try to reach her, you're not going to get any response from her right now.
Well, I'll walk over there and see what I can find. The 5-meter radius, I would imagine a perception roll should help me find something.
Absolutely. Visual perception will be available to you. Yep, the earbud was basically pulled out and set on a ledge of a garbage can.
But no sign of the actual comlink.
Dad.
The
That's a
comlink
bit
itself,
fishy.
no. And Sybil, I'm just going to give this information to you. That comlink still hasn't been reactivated.
Okay.
Okay. So, are we letting him go, or are we investigating him further?
Well, if you guys want, I could head to the Hammersmith and, well, maybe delay the situation for him a little bit. That'll give you fellows more time to maneuver. Maybe even make him late for the interview. I can
So,
pull it off really well.
would be able to complete that objective faster than he'd be able to arrive, approximately, by a guesstimation. Would we be able to guess, assuming he left immediately afterwards, taking the average walking pace, or maybe a motorized bicycle or something? How long would it take him to get to his location?
Not long at all.
Okay.
And
so that's-
honestly, unless you're driving like a maniac, no guarantee
get
that
there.
you'd be able to cut him off at the pass. But if you ran and he walked, potentially. A whiskey, being a troll, already runs faster than humans, orcs, elves, etc.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, would we be able to get there faster driving than he can walking?
At this point, no, because Mike made a point of going to go get that earpiece.
Especially if having to evade traffic signals and stuff like that.
But whiskey could most likely make that running.
Is this an objective we need completed? We want completed?
Do we want him talking to Pulford? It just comes down to that.
Well, if he talks to Pulford, he'll probably just lay a whole bunch of fire on me, not so much you fellas. So if you want, I'll just go over there, take the whipping or whatever it is, and Yeah, that'll give you fellas and lasses more time to handle this.
Well, it's also don't
Heck,
forget
I
it's
could
also
even
West
maybe
End
even just
Mike.
pull him into my room and keep Mr. Powell there for a little bit. Semi-kidnapping.
Out of character, the longer you discuss this, the
Yep.
less time you have.
Yep. Okay, start running. Okay.
All right.
Orchid.
Okay, Kara. I basically decided that Orchid, being the egocentric individual she is, took matters into her own hands without communicating to the rest of the group. So, if you are in agreement, she, after giving the team a AR signal on where to look for the earpiece, she turned into her astral form, flew over there with all speed she could, and spotted Powell's astral signature and basically manifest in front of him in her astral form to impede his movement. And I'd let you decide what she would say to Powell to prevent him from making it into Pulford's building.
And that's a shitty running roll, but nothing I can do about it.
Probably gonna need to. Ooh, that is. Probably gonna need to take more than one. Okay, so at least he isn't all the way there. We have an eye on him. Do we have any way for Orchid to inform Whiskey?
Nope. I mean, she could conjure up a spirit while projecting, but again, it's not really her style. I wanted to wait till Kara was here before making a decision like that. By the way, to describe her astral form in more detail while Kara is typing, I'm just going to open up the file and locate it and describe it while she's typing. If I can find it. Player characters. Where the fuck? There we go, player characters. So it is a feminine body with, oh, wait. Oh, Orchid will say, "Halt! You stand before a champion of righteousness. I must advise you to quit with these foolish efforts, lest you wish for a foe such as I." Powell does stop and stares at the astral form and just kind of gets a posture that's halfway between defensive and ready to run the fuck away. And he says, "Okay, what? What?"
Oh boy.
Okay, there we go. Now that I finally found the image. So basically, it's a pale-looking woman with hollow eyes, an orange crimsonish hair that flows even though there's no wind, with a purple ribbon that also flows along with it. She's wearing a very ornate gauntlets. Do gauntlets have individual fingers, or are gauntlets one solid piece?
No, it's a bunch of small pieces of metal over the fingers to help articulate so they can actually bend and grip things.
Okay, so very ornate, dark metal with a bit of a skull motif to it, and has some shoulder pauldrons and a collar made of the same armor, but is predominantly dressed in flowing purple and black robes. And she carries a very large claymore sword and has dark greaves that just basically just the toes poke out from underneath the purple robes. Orchid says, okay, so you are dense. Allow me to work myself down to your basic level of communication here. Out of character, Kara, he's just an adept. He's not out of his body. He is physically walking to his destination. He just took a route that allowed him to evade other people noticing him. So return to the atrium or return to his apartment. Just go back to where you came from, basically, and stop your tomfoolery. Follery, actually. Interesting. I do not appreciate these foolhardy efforts to try to undermine my will. This girl is under my protection. My methods may be messy, but the result is always the same, I am afraid. So you can either work with me or befall the same fate as others who oppose me. Okay, so it looks like the intimidation gauntlet
Yeah,
is
that's-
being thrown down here. Thing is, you are uncouth, so does that include what's the word? The intimidation skill.
Honest with uncouth, I would think that would turn other forms of talking into making it almost sound like intimidation.
And on the one hand, but like rules is written, it's a negative quality, so I have to treat it in a negative way because otherwise, you know, a negative that isn't negative isn't worth any points, as the saying goes.
Yeah, but
So I'm just going to double check uncouth's literal definition here.
Yeah, I'm
Uncouth
also looking it
character-
up.
Sorry, what?
I'm also looking it up.
Okay. Uncouth characters are treated as unaware in any social skill they do not possess at least 1 point of rating in. So a success test for a social situation that normal people would have no problems with. Thing is, if you are unaware, then as I recall, that means you do not have a means of making anything except a long shot roll. So yeah, you'll be rolling 5 SR4 and spending a point of edge here. That is correct, because it's a long shot. And long shots mean you lose the explosive nature of the edge. Okay, 2 hits. So he's going to stop right out and just say, all right, this is getting fucking ridiculous. All right, like, I don't know who summoned you, but I'm not interested in things escalating here. Now, I am going to assume that you're either related to that whiskey chick or to somebody's mother, and I'm just going to have to ask you to butt out of this, because it really isn't. This is way blown out of proportions here. Like, it's legitimate work, and it's healthy for her to deal with some things she needs to deal with. So I really don't appreciate all this hostility being directed towards me when all I'm doing is helping someone and making a living.
out of character, I kind of side with this guy's view on things, but we got paid for a job.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, in character, Whiskey kind of sides with this guy's view of things, but as you said, she's paid for a job.
Quite frankly, we're actually kind of in the same place. We're trying to help someone out and make a living at the same time. We're just doing it from a different direction.
It's just that both of our sides come into conflict on this one scenario.
Welcome to the world of business.
And it's toxic culture.
Well, competitive, the toxicity of competition, I guess would be a way to phrase it. Redneck Rampage is only a third of its usual price on Good Old Games right now. Same for Sacrifice. Sacrifice is a better game. Orchid says, oh, so her astral figure snaps its fingers for her army to appear and shouts, "Legitimate or not, boy, you deal with powers beyond your comprehension. I'm sure you understand that sometimes life has an interesting way of throwing, how would you peons say this? Throwing wrenches into the gubbins and mucking up the gears. That being said, you have a job, and I have a job, and the power I am afraid is all on our side."
So she is publicly summoning a whole bunch of spirits in a public space?
She physically
And
astrally
threatening,
manifested.
and this is like right next to Pulford's business that she's doing this.
Wouldn't the astral department of the police get involved in this if someone calls this in?
Absolutely, if someone calls this in.
It's just a matter if someone has called this in or not.
He can't see into the astral, Kara, so she would have to manifest for him to see her. Okay, so she's not calling in the spirits, but she's still saying that that she has the power in this exchange. Well, okay, so for observation's sake, he is further away from foot traffic. The majority of witnesses are in cars that are driving by the street at velocities of 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So
Can we have that Imperial?
I don't know, like 30 miles per hour, I guess, 20, 25.
Okay, so slow enough to get a good view then as you drove by.
City
bear in
limit
mind,
speed.
if
City
it's-
limit speeds.
If it's just her, and remember, this is London, so spirits materializing and manifesting isn't that uncommon. But basically, she would have had enough foreknowledge to do this in a place where there wasn't a lot of witnesses that could actually interfere.
Okay, so at least out of enough view unless someone tries to go say, why is that guy stopped over there?
Oh no, they could see her. They can, like, she is visible. It's a spirit. And she hasn't cast any spells or anything yet. As far as anyone observing would notice, it's a pale, ghostly figure with armor and a sword, standing in a few meters away from a guy who's just kind of got his hands up slightly defensively. It's not the most unusual thing you see in London during a day. Nothing has happened yet that would need to necessitate calling the police.
Also, people driving by probably can't hear what she's saying over
Precisely.
wind traffic or wind noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Orchid says, look, you have been warned. I can be very persistent and successful, but I warn you, the others I work with can be very persistent and messy and problematic in ways that may make it more costly endeavor for you. As you might say, this is more trouble than it is worth in the end for you. He's like, yep, okay, you made your point. I will just be on my way back home, okay? And she says, very well, I bid you farewell for now. Okay, when you say and returns, are you saying she sends her astral form back into her physical body, or is she just de-manifesting and continuing to watch from the astral? Okay, so she's still present, but just not visible. Okay. So you'll stay there and you'll watch him, and you'll kind of look at her location. He'll look back to the apartment building he lives in, and he'll look at Pulford Entertainment Incorporated, the Hammersmith building. He sighs deeply, and then he turns to get ready to cross the street, keeping an eye on traffic until there's a gap, and then kind of sprinting across. Whiskey. Give me a visual perception roll at -2, please.
Active or passive?
You would be running, right? So it's not active.
Alright, passive -2.
But that's good enough to spot him.
Alright, so yeah, Whiskey would kind of stop running, look at him, kind of blinking, and then go, oh, and probably return the way she came.
So what? Just hide around the corner, or what?
No, actually, probably jog back towards where the car is.
Bear in mind, you can still be in communication with the rest of the team through your comm link.
Yeah, no, I did not hear Orchid's little stunt there, so I guess Whiskey was, he's coming back over. Is he already done? I can't believe that Pulford generally doesn't talk that quickly.
Athena, Okami.
I'll take a look and see what's going on, and I'm actively project myself to the area, masking my signature.
Yeah, I don't know how successful it is until she tells us all.
Whiskey, are you trying to hide in your current location?
As he approaches, and if she's not running back, I guess so.
All right, go ahead and try and roll an infiltration. And Orchid, are you going to follow him in your astral form, or are you going to return to your body now and explain what you did to the rest of the team? Three hits on an infiltrate out of 5 dice. That's very good, Whiskey.
Some pretty lucky
Yeah,
rolls.
defaulting. I've been fairly lucky tonight.
Okay. But yeah, so Okami, you can have eyes on him now as well with your astral form. Orchid will send a message to the others saying, okay, so got him to go back to his apartment and hopefully drop this.
All right.
How?
It still doesn't complete the objective because she's a foolhardy individual who will not finish just if one interview fails. All this did is bought us time. We need to get him to conduct the interview on our terms, or we need to somehow make the interview happen in such a way. Otherwise, it still completes their objective. Or we stop this interview here, figure out when she tries to do a new interview with a new company, and then we buy ourselves some time.
Orchid says, I applied some pressure and insinuated that you are not the kind of people he wants to ruin to his day, any more than we already have, but got him to at least go back rather than mess with Whiskey's boss and complicate things more.
What do you mean with our kind of people?
Once I see him safely entering the apartment, I'll go back to my body. Well, at least the building.
Orchid says, it's intimidation. I maybe inflated our capabilities a bit, but I wanted him to know we aren't to be trifled with.
Alright, that's nice, but now he knows there's a team and not just me and a friend. So, well, it's fine, but that probably means that if Bolfa does get pissed off, I won't be the only one taking a whipping.
So it doesn't look like he spotted you, Whiskey, and he eventually walks back into his building. And Orchid will reply to Whiskey's comment with correct.
Oh well, hopefully we can still smooth this over. My best idea is still to somehow now try to get to the girl, get to Piper herself directly. Not in a harmful way, but maybe in a positively convincing way.
Sybil, you've been quiet for a bit, if you can excuse the joke. Was there any further input or ideas you wanted to have?
None off the top of my head.
Mike would point out that, well, you've prevented him from talking to Pulford in person, but he's also headed back to his apartment where he likely has, a terminal where he could, talk to Pulford from there. Do you honestly think that you've intimidated him thoroughly enough that he'll completely let this drop?
Orchid says, I will default to our leader's call here. I mean the Athena girl.
Athena's mouth twitches. She can't tell if she should be happy that she's at least getting called the leader, or upset because it appears that she can't fully accept it. Or if she means that in such a way that, if in case nobody else can tell. But she's not going to ask.
I think Athena would be most upset about being called a girl by a literal child.
I mean, that's also a big option too.
I mean, what's Athena, 27 years old or something?
Let me open up her notes, character notes. 24.
Okay, she is pretty young for an elf.
Oh fuck, I'm older than her. I wasn't older than her when I first met her. That's upsetting.
Yeah, the campaign is not moving at the same speed as real life.
Nope.
Sorry.
Well, a few traveling time jumps and we'll be right back at the proper age. Anyway.
Yeah, so at the moment we are getting close to concluding tonight's session. We've had some ups and downs tonight. Is there anything in particular any of you want to do?
I was hoping we could finish this mission tonight, but I guess that's not in the cards, so...
I got an idea, Whiskey. Let's just kill your boss. That'll solve a whole bunch of problems.
It will. But it also creates
Honestly,
a vacuum. Who steps
honestly-
into place? Sorry, go on.
it would clear my debt, so I'm not wholly against that, but yeah, you need a damn good plan to pull that one off.
I mean, why don't the two of us... Anyways, we are trying to fight a lion to catch a shrew. Do we need to do something about him beyond what we've already done to postpone the current interview? Because it is very possible he's going to cause you a lot of trouble now, which may interfere with your ability to continue with working with the team at this current juncture. Is that fine for your end, Whiskey?
Sorry, Silly. We were talking about idioms not translating earlier tonight. I don't understand the lion catching the shroom type of
You're
thing.
trying to go after... We don't need to fight him if we don't have to. All we want to do at the moment is figure out how we can convince her to not complete the profession. We don't need to kill your boss.
Oh yeah, no. That's all just a weird thought right there. No, indeed. I definitely don't suggest killing Pulford right now, at least. But but no, yeah. As I said, I'm like I do think like Powell, we can't touch him well anymore. Unless we go really rigorous indeed and start kidnapping or something like that. But I think Paul is out of our reach, in my opinion. So I think our next line will be, well, the actual girl.
Alright. We could have gotten one more piece of information out of him, being the contact information.
Well, we have the comlink.
No, you don't. It's the earpiece.
Yeah. Which
And
probably
actually,
is
Mike would
connected
not
to-
have picked that up because he knows that tracing can work both ways. So,
So Mike left it in the building.
yep, didn't even touch
Okay.
it.
Yeah, because it's oddly suspicious. I would just put like, oh, we're gonna put it right here, out in the open, a really easy spot to see. It is kind of fishy.
So, we do not have access to his comlink yet until he turns it back on, and then we can, if we want to go down that route, hack it. Alternatively, we can attempt our best to get her contact information a different way. Third option, which is probably the most dangerous, we wait till she arrives. He isn't there. We try to hack her comlink to get her contact information, or do our best to simply skirt around it, somehow get access to her comlink. Because this interview isn't happening unless he shows up in VR, or someone else shows up at the location. Which honestly, is that beyond...
The location is his apartment.
Okay, so he just went back to the apartment.
Yes. Which is the location the interview was scheduled to take place in at 1 p.m. the same
What time is
day.
it now?
9, not even 9 o'clock yet in the morning.
Okay. So we still at the location. So the interview theoretically still happened. We haven't moved forwards at all, except to potentially get Whiskey in trouble. We haven't learned any new information today. Pre-9 a.m. Okay. We haven't learned any new information, and we've played our hand to Pulford. A bit of our hand. He doesn't know about Sybil, as far as we know. He doesn't know about myself, as far as we know.
Doesn't know that it's a AAA organization that's hired you
Correct.
to...
He doesn't know who the victim is, so we're not 100% dead in the water. How long do you think it would take for you and Orchid, working together, Sybil, to get her contact information? Any piece.
From
Hunter.
his...
Oh, sorry. From
From
any source
his
that you have
comment?
access to.
It might be a little harder than you might think.
Yep, that's what I'm asking both of you. Do either of you have any source of information that can get us there quickly, within the next 3 hours? Because if this fails, then it gives us at least 1 hour to do our best.
I do, but it would mean owing some very powerful figures favors.
Is it a favor that's worth this job over supplying them? We know her name.
Orchid says, well, we know her name. I mean, it shouldn't be the hardest thing without breaking into his stuff. I mean, worst comes to worst, we can also contact our handler to contact our Jane and ask.
Correct. As far as we know. Fuck it. I'm gonna call up our fixer.
Are you saying that in character or out of
Yes,
character?
and out of character as well.
Well,
Calling
in
up our
character.
fixer.
Is anyone going to say, let's not call the fixer yet? Or are you all in agreement with Athena?
I think
I
we
was
should
saying
first
that-
try to find it ourselves. But I don't know all the hacking stuff,
Okay.
so I don't know how hard that is.
That's going through open sources that we were told, again, directly asking for the information and coming across the information mid-job is different, we were told, than what was apparently given during the interview or the hiring thing for us.
Orca says, I mean, you are the boss, but we can try.
What is the likelihood of your success within 3 hours upon if you start now?
Orchid, you are confident you can do it. But then again, you're always confident.
Yep. I was thinking that exact route. I'm glad you mentioned it.
But I mean, Orchid already said, we know her names, multiple names, by the way. Yeah, Orchid says yes. I mean, I doubt it will take even 3 hours. But yeah, you've got multiple different ways to look up that information.
Yep.
Even without having to go into the resonance realms like Sybil was suggesting. Not that any of you necessarily understood what Sybil meant by that. So
Not in character, at least.
multiple options do exist for finding that information.
I figured. I was like, I'm pretty sure Prodigy could do this within an hour. And he's not that far ahead of anyone. So,
Well, he's further ahead than Orchid as far as single target roles go, but Orchid diversifies
Yeah.
by making a bunch of minions.
I mean, I just have one
And you are
stronger minion.
both, and you're both stronger than Sybil right now.
Well, they're both their strength is locked, whereas Sybil has flexibility. There's things Sybil could do that, I mean, maybe you and I need to sit down again to remind you the sort of things technomancers can do, but I mean, it's been a while since you've tried to compile, for example, or subscribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sybil will actually do that. She's going to try compiling a sprite.
Wait, right
just for this purpose. Just for the task of finding out this lady's contact info and getting it to me.
It would be the
And I'm
equivalent
guessing-
of summoning a spirit for like the 8 hours that you can do for free before it dissipates.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing no bonuses at all.
Depends on which type of sprite you're trying to compile. As I recall, you have a bonus for a particular type of sprite, don't you?
Yes, but she doesn't know that. So she's just going for a best sprite she would have for this that she knows she can have as a networker. The best option she would have for this task.
Sorry, which sprite are you summoning? If you
I
look
don't
on your
remember-
if you look on your character sheet and you hit the button Add Sprite, there will be a drop-down menu with 5 different sprites listed.
It's just I don't remember off the top of my head which would be the best option for this task.
Well, what is the task you're giving?
Finding the contact information.
All right, so you would want data search. Data search is based on what software is data search again? Browse? Browse.
I think it's a
Yes.
sniffer.
Browse.
So the core ones we have. The data sprite has browse built into it. Is data one of your options?
Yes, and I already have one of those. That's rating 5.
Except you've used up all of their services, or what's the equivalent? Their
Services.
tasks.
It just says services owed. So
Okay, they're called tasks,
So
but yes, so they're used up.
I'll summon a data sprite.
Okay. What rating were you trying to summon?
I'll go rating 6.
Okay, and that will also offer 2 optional complex forms for the data, which would be diffuse, encrypt, sniffer, stealth, or any languages. Each language being
Stealth?
one of the options. Okay, so data with
And
stealth.
sniffer.
Okay. All right, so you said rating 6. That means I roll. Where is that? Compiling a sprite. You did your compiling plus resonance. I roll.
Yeah, compiling plus resonance. Compiling rating? Or
Ah,
compiling total?
Okay,
plus-
sprites rating. Okay. So. So you will end up with 3 tasks, and you will have to resist. Where's the fading rules?
I think it works
For compiling
almost...
to piling, the fading is equal to twice the hits. So you have to resist 4 points of fading.
Yeah, it's the exact same as summoning.
Not
That way.
exactly the same, but very similar. All right, Sybil, you got yourself a data sprite.
And it's off doing its job.
So the task
Its
you are
task
giving
is-
it is specifically finding the contact information of which name?
I'm gonna have to go with the real name. Not
So
the
her current legal name?
yes.
Okay. I don't have that written down right now because I was dumb and forgot to write it down. But I will consult the logs at some point.
I think it was Ikege Okodawa or something like that.
And yeah, so VIP is the best term I could find for who a bodyguard takes care of.
Yep.
Or so yeah, I'm guessing
The other
Unless-
term would be protectee.
protectee, sure.
Yes, you are the protector, they are the protectee.
All right. The data sprite also has 2 abilities, stenography and watermark. Watermark allows it to tag something with an invisible resonance-based mark. So regular hacking can't detect it, but anything that's resonant will be able to like see it lit up. This also allows you to write messages within the matrix that only other resonance-based entities can see. A sprite can also overwrite a watermark that someone else has left and change it. Stenography, the sprite can conceal a file or piece of data within another file in such a way as to make it invisible to searches and data mining. Data hidden this way inside a file of seemingly irrelevant information. They cannot be found by standard data searches. The only way to find the hidden file is with a matrix perception test at 4 for the threshold. Even the sprite must make this test in order to find the file they hid.
Okay, so these are the abilities of my sprite.
Yes, if you have any need for them.
Say that again. Yeah. abilities.
Stenography and watermark.
It's not going to use them.
Okay, well, it won't take terribly long for the sprite to gain that information. Orchid, were you also going to be searching for contact information? Okay, and what method did you want to use? Personally or sending one of your agents to do it? Okay, so go ahead and roll 18 SR4 for yourself. Oh, well, which of the names were you looking for contact info for? So the same name that the sprite was searching for. Okay, go ahead and roll your 18 SR4. So Sybil will get the results shortly before Orchid does. But both of you will take a bit of time for you to get those results. So in the interim, will the rest of you be doing any particular activities?
We know the location. We know the entrances and exits of the location. We don't know. Well, at that point, we'll know where she probably lives, and therefore the route that's being taken. But now the question is, if anyone else knows who is coming, is there a chance that they might try to intercept her to get blackmail material? Is there a possibility that anyone else could interfere in this job?
There's always a possibility of
Yes,
that.
there is.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I suggest we figure out the route. If is it possible to track a comm link without making yourself known that it's you doing it?
Absolutely. That is just, you have to hope that your stealth is better than their digital perception.
That's hard. Okay. Sybil or Orchid, is there a way to make a non-trackable what's the correct phrase? Agent. Agent of very minor power that can probably ping the phone every now and again with advertisements. Not phone, comlink.
So there's multiple ways that either Orchid or Sybil would be able
Well, I
to
know, but I don't know
troubleshoot.
that in character.
Yeah. So I'm just letting the players
okay.
know, because this is Kara's, early attempts at being a hacker. So even without Orchid knowing Sybil is a technomancer, Orchid would know it's certainly doable. There's always a risk involved, but again, Orchid is the confident type, and it would make sense that Orchid would feel she can pull this off. She hasn't really tested Sybil enough yet to know how well Sybil will do here. I mean, Sybil did nuke that guy's system pretty quickly, but Orchid still nuked heavier and harder than Sybil did. Sybil, you would also know that your sprite, pretty much, as long as you could compile a sprite that well, you've already got a sprite. So once your one sprite is done, you can dismiss it and compile. Whoa.
That was
I just
scary.
lost,
What was
I
that?
lost my mic for a bit. I lost my
Okay.
mic for a bit, so I had to unplug it and plug it back in.
Oh,
Then I
Sounds like a
switched to my
demon.
headphones.
Okay.
So I
think-
missed what you said after you know your sprite is.
Yeah,
And
so
everything after that's
once
done.
you're done with that sprite, you can decompile it and then summon a new one, Courier, for example, or if you don't have Courier, something else that has the cookie ability. Because the cookie, if I recall correctly, allows you to basically track a matrix icon, so it could be the persona of the device, without anything except other resonance entities basically being able to detect it.
A question. I only have 2 sprites plus the bound to me, and the one that I compiled just for this. Do I have a free space for another compiling?
The limit on your compiled number of sprites is always 1. The limit on your registered sprites is your charisma.
Which would be 5. So the best bet would be for me to compile and then register.
Except registering takes
It would-
hours.
Yeah.
So for things to do while the hackers are busy,
Yes.
I do have an idea. The building that Paul lives in, does it have windows?
You asked this last week as well. Yes. They are higher than you can reach.
Could I try and climb the building?
You asked that as well. Yes, you could attempt to do so, but it would not be easy.
Okay, well, I'm tempted to give that a
you
try.
also
but-
you also thought of the idea of throwing someone up to the windows.
Did I? Oh, I did not remember that.
All of a sudden, I do have the thought in my head of as Whiskey climbs that if I have as a regular character, just get a bunch of quad planes to just buzz her like she was like King Kong.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm worried about happening.
We can get into his building without an issue. They are mag locks, and the maintenance areas also have conventional locks. This team has the skills to defeat both of those.
Okay, so
And
no
the
need to
magical
go King
protections
Kong
of this
then.
place are very weak.
More than anything, someone like Mike. Why don't you go ahead and do a logic plus charisma, Mike? Mike, if you like buy some groceries and time it so you're walking up to the door carrying these bags of groceries when somebody else is coming in or out of the building, there's a very good chance they'll be polite enough to just hold the door open for you.
Yes, getting
But-
into the building is not the issue.
But but that then involves us relying on the goodwill of other human beings. But they're human beings.
This is London, not the United Canadian American States or the Confederate American States.
I don't know about that.
Or France.
Remember, Mike's charming. You just got to give the right smile and oh please and thank you, and just take the right target to convince. You should be able to. Hell, even Athena, like Whiskey, could even pull something like that off. Of course, Whiskey's going to have to be carrying a lot more groceries than Mike for someone to hold a door open for a troll.
You need 18 loaves of bread?
She's a troll. Yes.
That's a lot of carbs.
She's a troll.
Look,
Yes.
let's be honest. If whiskey is carrying bags of groceries, it's just gonna be clinking of bottles in there.
Honestly, I kind of picture like a Scooby-Doo sized sandwich. It's the normal size sandwich for whiskey.
But yeah, so there are plenty of options to get into the building without having to resort to exterior building climbing during midday.
All right, well then, possibly whiskey will possibly just patrol the neighborhoods a little bit in case a girl happens to come by. Small chance,
by-
but who knows?
Oh, okay. Regrettably, your patrol will be cut short. But just before I tell you why, I just want to see if anyone else is taking any other activities.
Just going on Astral Overwatch. Is that the
Mike
only
won't
pure
have
mage
anything
here?
to do until we get contact info.
Okay, and Athena?
Oh, I know. You're getting in trouble. We are. Athena would like to stay. What kind of building is this? I should point with that.
The lower floor is commercial. Oh wait, sorry. Where are you pointing? That same, yeah. Like this whole block is three different types of three different buildings that are all essentially the same thing.
Yep.
There is commercial storefronts on the ground floor, and then parking garage underneath, and then residential buildings, residential apartments all the way up from second floor on.
Do we know who owns it?
Different corporate entities.
Not AAA. Okay.
Like, well, triple A's might have some investment in the buildings, but they're
Their
basically.
name isn't on the lease.
Sorry.
Okay. Their name isn't on the lease.
Well, these buildings aren't extraterritorial areas, so they are essentially just private housing.
Okay. So just to confirm, it's this building right here that the interview's taking place in, not this one here.
Well, yes. So this building is attached to this building with a shared underground parking garage and an access tunnel above ground.
Okay.
That can be crossed to walk across. This part of it is predominantly the residential. This part has more of the commercial and business aspects.
Okay. So that's the mall that you have right next to it.
Yeah,
basically.
down here, this is the primary mall center. Yes.
Okay. I'm guessing that there's entrances from any side of the building.
Yeah, there are multiple entrances all across all of these structures.
So yeah, if you can get inside, it'd be a lot easier to safely just check out the target. But it's so fortified from astral presence, isn't it?
Not fortified.
Watcher
They're
spirits, sorry.
The Watcher spirits are literally just patrolling the exterior. And already.
Inside's clean?
Oh, sorry?
Inside's already clean. There's no astral watchers inside.
I already went through there.
Yeah, like Okami and what's her nuts? Orchid. Both flew into the building to scout it out.
Yeah.
That's an interesting bit of tidbit I didn't know about Orchid until now.
What's that?
Masking.
Apparently she has nuts.
So, anyways, it's all well and good to be able to watch the exterior of the building. But if there are so many entrances, we can't physically keep watch over everything. So, if we're letting if we're letting our VIP enter the building, we need to somehow figure out a way to keep her physically safe in case I'm correct and there is a third party involved somehow.
The delightful paranoia of Twister. I appreciate it immensely. So,
Mike,
Athena, does Athena have like security knowledge skill?
yes.
So why
Let
don't
me
you-
confirm which specific. Yeah, security tactics.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and roll a visual perception roll? Then for every 2 hits you get on that, I will give you a +1 to a security tactics roll to ascertain the complications that might arise in attempting to keep your VIP safe during the interview process.
Just a one for visual. I'm going to edge this as my first edge.
So naturally, the best way to provide the utmost in personal security is to be her personal bodyguard.
Yep.
So you would basically try to ingratiate yourself with her so that you could ride with her in the vehicle when she comes, walk her to the apartment, case the interior of the apartment, and then always be in the room next to her just to make sure she's safe. Which, given that you now know that this girl is the daughter of a pretty big deal in a AAA corporation, she might already have her own personal security to come along with her on this.
Well, I mean, I guess that much.
Okay.
The question is it going to be enough? A. And B, is it on her side still?
Right.
My
Well, that's something you can't tell. But what you can tell from the layout of this building is that as far as being a secure facility, it is not. There are way too many entrances and egress points. There's underground parking garage that would allow you to get from one end to the other almost unseen. There's that tunnel that is a bridge tunnel up above there that could theoretically allow you access. There are multiple, so there's a guest entrance at this side of the building and a guest entrance at this side of the building. And then, the maintenance doors basically at the four corners on the ground floor. There's a access door that leads into the underground parking. There's just so many ways that this place could be infiltrated.
especially since we've already infiltrated it on multiple ways.
So in the case of somebody attacking, there's no real way to secure this building without way more people.
That's not my concern of securing the building. It's securing the most likely route.
Well, the most likely route, if she's coming in a vehicle, is to drive up the ramp into the guest parking and then through the main guest entrance. If she's walking on foot, she would come most likely from this direction, up and over and into these doors at this end instead.
All right, so when we have access to our comlink, we ping it twice, approximately, 10 minutes apart, see the distance that it's traveled. We'll get the answer if it's moving by vehicle or moving by foot, by the speed. We'll know which distance she's most likely to go by.
Honestly, you wouldn't need to wait 10 minutes between pings. You could...
I know.
Yeah.
I was giving it was the first number off the top of my head. But that would give us the answer for that. Mike's already inside. Well, Mike will hopefully be inside by that point with his rations. And if needed, can get more of us inside. But this is all aside the fact we are currently dealing with Whiskey's issue. I apologize. Go on.
No, I just want to make sure everyone else is good. Does anyone else want to ask or do anything first?
No, just like I said, just trying to make sure everything's here magically. Okay. But I'm guessing nothing stands out of the normal from what we've seen so far today.
Everything that you saw already is still in the same place. So yeah, Whiskey, you're going to get a call from Pulford. Do you answer?
Yes, I think she would. I've been thinking on this.
Straight up, Pulford's going to say, what the fuck is going on out there? Get your ass into my office right fucking now.
Alright, boss. I'll just go for the neighborhood watch, but I'll be right over.
He doesn't even really wait. He's already hung up. But I imagine you head over to the Hammersmith and straight to his office, or do you do anything
Yep.
else first?
Yep.
Do you alert your team?
Yes.
Okay, does the team recommend Whiskey not go?
I already asked if this is going to be an issue for the group.
Okami can't answer this because she's astrally doing stuff. So yeah.
And Whiskey would be kind of like, look, if I go in there, then I'll be the whipping girl, and that frees up your lot more, and prevents him from maybe sending folk after us.
Okay, so Whiskey's willing to be the sacrificial lamb. All right, so Whiskey, when you make it to Pulford's office, he's going to tell you close that fucking door and sit down.
She does as ordered.
He's like, all right, so you want to tell me why Powell called me from his neighbor's phone and told me you've been fucking around at his place?
Well, as I said, I'm hoping to prevent this whole thing from going through.
He really, really tightly grips the leather armrests on his chair to the point where you think he might even start like cracking his mahogany chair somehow. And,
Mahogany.
yeah. And he's just like, I'm guessing you didn't quite pick up on the subtle hints I was dropping. I want this girl because Powell tells me she'll make us some sweet mint. Why are you trying to fuck that up?
I'm surprised you cared this much about one girl, boss. I mean, she's one girl.
Yeah,
But
no,
anyways,
fuck, one girl. Yeah, I don't usually care. I care when you somehow make it to Powell's place before he's even given you the fucking address. What the fuck's that about?
I'm well informed. Like, look, I know this whole neighborhood and who operates in it.
So the look on his face is like he's kind of caught off guard. He's always kind of thought of you as dumb muscle with a pretty face. Now he's like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Look, I work as an enforcer. I want to move up in the organization. Obviously, I got to know the business well, so I know kind of what's been going on in the neighborhood, so I can operate here well.
Right. So me and Beckett are going to have a chat too then. But let's cut right to the fucking chase here. What's really going on?
Ah, fuck. See, I want to lie to him, but I know my deception rolls is not good enough to make this.
Thing is, main
Out-
point is we can't tell him any information on this girl that we have that he doesn't.
Right. So think of this in terms of Whiskey. She knows she's not the best liar in the world. Would she have the urge to lie knowing that people tend to see through her lies?
Probably not. Look, let's just put it like this. I've been contacted by what I'm thinking are the parents, and they basically do not want this girl to go into this business, and they're paying me a lot of nuyen to prevent that from happening.
How much is a lot?
Almost the whole debt I owe you. So you can figure why I wanted to handle this job and get it done.
So this makes him put his arm up on his table, his elbow up on his table, and he puts his chin in his hand and kind of strokes at his light facial hair, and he's just sort of staring at you as you continue to explain.
So I'm trying to do this diplomatically. All I did was talk to the guy. Did not do anything else. And that did not work, so I'm pretty much out of this. Unless you got an idea where we maybe both get what we want. I am thinking, like, they don't want her to go into the business right now. I'm thinking how about if we don't release those, like, we have a record and everything, but we don't release those tips just yet. We keep them in the vault for a little bit, enough that we both get the payment out of the parents, and in a year or two we release it, and well, girl is girl, so fresh enough.
Okay. It's an idea. And he stops rubbing his mustache and he kind of points at you with a kind of a rocking motion in his hand. And he's like, yeah, okay. Tell me more about who it is that you said the parents don't want their kid.
I'm thinking it's the parents' eye.
Yeah, okay.
It is all going between go-betweens and everything, but yeah, the vibe I got, it's parents.
Right. And Powell, he tells me that he's got big dreams for this girl, that this girl will make us good money. Thing is, in my line of work, sitting on things generally isn't the best business acumen. Usually when you got something, you want to use it right away. How can I feel confident that sitting on those girls' videos is going to net me more than just going ahead and showing it right now?
I'll be honest, I cannot guarantee it. You are more familiar in this business than I am. I just figure like the viewer of, well, Dirty Entertainment, they don't really care about what the girl is doing like outside of it. They generally just care about what they are doing right now in the video.
Roll a judge intention for me, please, with your loyalty as a bonus.
Pirate is thinking from a long distance away. Who are you? What have you done with my sister?
Fear for your life's got all sorts of new facets of people.
So Whiskey, he's now got a grin on his face that's like he can't, his mustache doesn't even obscure it. Like usually that mustache hides, you know, whether or not he's smiling or frowning somewhat, but now he's smiling so much that it's clear that he's smiling. And he'll say, all right, Whiskey, I think we got a way to make this all work out. You just go ahead and you leave this in my hands, and I'll talk to Powell. I'll make sure that you got nothing to worry about for this little girl's mummy and daddy. They'll pay you.
Oh shit.
This has just gone south.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you really you press the idea that she's important in a way that's got across the message that he misinterpreted.
Now he's gonna dig deep into her background and then probably blackmail.
Oh no! What this means is that he's going to start digging into her background. We're going to learn about it, and now we have to kill him. Because I Athena
that-
cannot afford to make an enemy of a major corporation yet.
That really depends on what Whiskey tells the rest of you.
Is this being lively broadcasted? Whiskey?
I suppose it could
You want
be lively broadcasted, but no, I don't think it would be live
Okay, that's fair.
broadcasted.
Would you want to roll a like? Do you get to make the call on this, Al Diablo? Do you want the dice to decide?
No, I think she wouldn't live broadcast it because she knows the Hammersmith has decent anti-cyber and anti-listening security, and knows that if it even is gonna work, it'll get detected. So she would not break that bit of privacy, but she probably would relay the most of the conversation as she picked it up to the rest of the team afterwards.
Okay, and what is her impression then? Or does she want to keep talking to Pulford?
No, at that point, like, all right, well, I'll. It sounds like good news then. And she would leave the office if she would wait. Am I allowed to go, by the way?
Yeah, no, he would dismiss her and say that, yeah, no, this is all going to work out for the best. Thank you for being honest with me. It really helps out.
Always try to be. Well, as long as it was with you and not with the cops or anything, but yeah. Have a good day, Mr. Pulvert.
You too, Whiskey. You too.
And yeah, afterwards she would go to the team and basically say, alright, so I had a talk with Pulvert, and well, I suggested the idea that instead of if he really wants this go, maybe just record and not release the tapes. And that way, well, I did inform him that, yeah, I'm getting paid to kind of stop this from happening. And that way, I could collect payment, which I could ship to him, because I owe him a debt. Like literally, a money debt. And then, well, he can release those videos later, or 3 years later, and then he can make money off that. But I don't know, I got the feeling that he is getting, he got scheming ideas.
Do we want to respond to Whiskey right now or end tonight's session and have the dramatic response next week?
I think dramatic response next week, so we don't all immediately just jump on Whiskey. We can plan this out where we're immediately not causing a massive conflict.
All right. Well, for the record, Orchid, you definitely failed a very difficult composure test with 4 hits.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll composure on this as well.
Athena, Mike, Sybil, do you 3 need composures?
She's going to say a single line, get out of the car, and slam her fist on the roof.
Well,
Mike does not need a composure roll on this because, well, she could have done a lot worse.
True, but none of you know the position Athena's in right now.
Nope,
I'm
because you
guessing
never
bent
shared.
over.
Sorry, just out of character to El Diablo, Whiskey probably salvaged a big part of this job just there. Not in the way you may think, because there's another shoe that still needs to drop. But what you just did as Whiskey has neutralized one potential threat. It has created a new threat, but you now have a new avenue to success that you didn't have before. So well done.
And I'll say the whole, like, if they have to kill Pulford, like, Whiskey is not, as long as they do it well, Whiskey is not gonna shed tears over that one.
Well, out of character, remember, a negative quality is a negative quality until you buy it off. So if Pulford dies, you still have debts to pay
Yeah.
in some way, or the negative quality mutates into something else.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. And then for the rest of you, Well, and El Diablo, I know earlier you were a little bit upset, but I'm sure you'll understand that everyone will be doing this in character when they tear
Yep.
into whiskey. Okay. But yeah, so everyone else, just be sure to conjure up those things you want to say in your mind, and then we'll basically roll charisma-based initiative to decide who manages to command the conversation first. But we'll do that next
So
week.
who gets to rip apart privileges first, I guess?
Basically, yeah. Who is it that commands enough respect from everybody else that they'll stop and listen to what they have to say before that other person chimes in?
Yeah, charisma 6. That's not too bad.
I do hope everyone had an enjoyable session and that you are all looking forward to next week.